Garlic. Small, simple, inexpensive, yet capable of dividing opinions among doctors, nutritionists, and even across generations. Many call it a natural antibiotic, while others refer to it as the white gold of the kitchen. There are those who can't live without adding a crushed clove to almost every meal. But what few people know is that just as it can be a powerful remedy, it can also become a silent risk, especially for those who are over 60 and wish to maintain their vitality, energy, and quality of life. Imagine the scene: you open a kitchen drawer and grab a head of garlic. As you prepare a sauté, you believe you are protecting your heart, your memory, and even your body's natural defenses. After all, garlic is rich in bioactive compounds that strengthen the immune system, aid circulation, reduce inflammation, and even combat harmful microorganisms. It is, indeed, one of nature's greatest gifts. But the line between benefit and danger is much thinner than it appears. This is because many of garlic's effects depend on how it is consumed. Science has already shown that the most powerful compounds in garlic are not stable. Heat, the time after cutting, the preparation method, and even the foods that accompany it can completely change its effects on the body. In other words, you might believe you are building a fortress against diseases, but in reality, you may only be adding flavor without reaping any real protection. And this is where the great trap lies. People, trusting what they've heard from friends, neighbors, or in popular recipes, begin to use garlic in excess, on an empty stomach, in low-quality capsules, or store it incorrectly. The result? Instead of strengthening the body, they end up irritating the stomach, overburdening the liver, reducing the absorption of medications, and even opening the door to serious health risks. After the age of 60, when the body's sensitivity increases and every detail makes a difference, it is crucial to understand that even natural remedies require knowledge. Garlic can be a valuable ally for your longevity, but it must be used wisely, respecting limits and simple rules that science has already proven. Throughout this journey, we will reveal 10 dangerous mistakes that most people make with garlic, mistakes that can turn this superfood into an invisible enemy. They are common pitfalls, easy to fall into, but just as easy to correct once you learn to pay attention. Before we continue, think with me: how many times have you trusted something just because it seemed natural? How many times have you believed that if a little is good, a lot must be better? This is precisely where many stumble, without even realizing it. If this topic has already sparked your curiosity and you value practical tips that can truly protect your health, like this video now. By doing so, you help this knowledge reach more people who are also seeking to age with energy and wisdom. And here is a warning: do not underestimate the power of a simple clove of garlic. What we are about to explore could completely change the way you consume it and perhaps even explain symptoms you never associated with this small seasoning. When we think of garlic, the first image that comes to mind is the kitchen, its distinct aroma, the flavor that transforms any simple dish into something special. But the truth is that this small bulb has a history that extends far beyond cuisine. It carries centuries of medicinal use, beliefs, and discoveries that have shaped entire civilizations. In ancient Egypt, workers who built the pyramids received garlic daily to maintain their strength and ward off diseases. Hippocrates, the father of medicine, recommended garlic as a treatment for infections and digestive problems. The Roman, Greek, Indian, and Chinese peoples saw this food as a kind of shield against invisible evils. It was a symbol of vitality, courage, and resilience. Garlic was even used in spiritual rituals as protection against what they called bad energies. With such a rich tradition, it would be natural to think, if our ancestors trusted garlic so much, why not follow in their footsteps? Here is the detail that is almost never mentioned: the context has changed. The human body ages differently in a modern world filled with medications, pollution, processed diets, and chemical interactions that did not exist centuries ago. What worked as protection in one era can become a risk in another, especially when combined with the routine use of medications, which is so common after the age of 60. Another interesting point: in most cases, garlic was consumed fresh, raw, and in small quantities, as part of a natural diet without processed foods or excess fats. Today, many people try to compensate for bad habits by believing that generous doses of garlic will cancel out the rest of their diet. But the body does not work like simple math. The same substance that protects can, in excess, irritate, interact poorly, and even compromise natural defenses. This is why we need to look at garlic with modern eyes. Yes, it is powerful. Yes, it can reduce inflammation, improve circulation, and support immunity. But it can also be treacherous if used without discretion. And here is the key point of this series: folk wisdom is valuable, but it must go hand in hand with science to ensure safety and real results. How many times have you heard advice like "eat garlic on an empty stomach to cure everything"? Or about miracle recipes that promise to cleanse the blood and protect against any disease? These phrases seem harmless, but they hide serious risks that only those who have experienced them firsthand know how much they can hurt. The mistake lies in believing that tradition alone is synonymous with safety. The modern world demands extra attention, especially when it comes to health after 60. It's not about abandoning garlic, but about learning how it really works inside the body. And here comes the first major revelation: many of the benefits attributed to garlic depend on extremely fragile compounds that can disappear in seconds if used incorrectly. It is at this point that many people, without realizing it, turn gold into worthless dust. The question that remains is simple: are you sure that the garlic you use every day still retains its medicinal power? Or are you just adding flavor, believing in a protection that no longer exists on your plate? This detail is what opens the door to the first dangerous mistake, a habit so common that it goes unnoticed even in the most careful kitchens. Few people imagine that the preparation method can determine whether garlic will be an ally or just a common seasoning. Science has already shown garlic's most valuable compound, called allicin, is only formed when the clove is cut, crushed, or chewed, activating a natural enzyme that unleashes its power. This process, however, is delicate and extremely sensitive to heat. When garlic is sautéed for too long, boiled in soups for hours, or roasted until it loses its color, the allicin practically disappears. What remains is aroma, flavor, and almost none of the desired protective effects. It's as if the invisible shield that could strengthen your heart and defenses is dissolved by the fire before it even comes into contact with your body. The most treacherous detail is that this mistake happens precisely among people who believe they are taking care of themselves.
By adding garlic to every dish but always subjecting it to high temperatures for long periods, the result is merely pleasure for the palate, without the medicinal effect that makes it a superfood. Studies published in nutrition journals show that allicin can begin to degrade in less than a minute of intense heat. On high heat, the loss is almost immediate. This explains why some people, despite consuming garlic daily, do not notice real improvements in blood pressure, circulation, or immunity. But there is a simple solution: respect the time and temperature. Sautéing it quickly, adding it at the end of cooking, or even consuming it raw in small amounts preserves its active compounds. A crushed clove on a salad, a light paste with olive oil, or even mixed into lukewarm juices and broths can bring much more consistent benefits than the same garlic fried in a pan until it turns dark. Of course, this doesn't mean you have to give up the flavor of sautéed garlic. Cooking is also about pleasure and emotional connection. The key is to find a balance. To get the most out of garlic, a good tip is to reserve a portion raw, letting it rest for a few minutes after being cut, and add it to the finished dish. This way, you combine flavor and medicinal power in a single gesture. It is worth remembering that after 60, every detail makes a difference. The body no longer responds in the same way. Absorption can be slower, and the cumulative effects are decisive for maintaining vitality. Losing allicin to heat is wasting one of the most powerful resources that nature offers for free. And here is a thought: how many years of your life have you spent relying on garlic that had already lost its strength? How many times did you believe you were protecting yourself, when in fact you were just enhancing the flavor? This is the kind of mistake that seems small, but in the long run, can mean the difference between a protected body and a vulnerable one. Interestingly, heat is not garlic's only enemy. Some people go a step further and consume it raw, believing they are doing the best they can, but are unaware of another silent risk that can arise from this habit. Eating raw garlic on an empty stomach is one of the most repeated pieces of advice in conversations, popular magazines, and even on radio shows. The idea seems simple. The empty stomach would better absorb the active compounds, enhancing the medicinal effect. And indeed, there is some scientific truth to this belief. But what is almost never said is that this habit can be a double-edged sword, especially for those over 60. Raw garlic contains extremely potent sulfuric compounds capable of stimulating circulation, improving immunity, and acting against harmful bacteria. However, the same strength that helps can also harm. When consumed on an empty stomach, garlic comes into direct contact with the unprotected stomach lining. The result can be irritation, a burning sensation, heartburn, or even episodes of gastritis and reflux in more sensitive individuals. For those who already live with digestive issues, something common in later life, the risk is even greater. The stomach lining becomes less resilient over the years, and strong substances like those in raw garlic can trigger inflammation, discomfort, and even painful flare-ups. Many seniors report abdominal pain or nausea without realizing that the true trigger is that small clove of garlic taken right after waking up. And it's not just the stomach that can suffer. The direct absorption of these compounds on an empty stomach can increase acidity in the digestive tract and even interfere with the balance of intestinal flora. Instead of supporting the body, this habit can weaken the very natural barrier that protects against infections and inflammation. This does not mean that raw garlic should be banned. On the contrary, it remains a valuable resource, but it should be consumed with moderation and intelligence. The solution lies in accompanying the garlic with other foods. A piece of whole wheat bread, a spoonful of natural yogurt, or even a drizzle of olive oil helps to reduce its harshness, allowing the body to absorb the benefits without suffering the side effects. Another simple strategy is to respect the quantity. One small clove of garlic, properly crushed and rested for a few minutes before being ingested, is sufficient. More than that does not accelerate benefits. It only increases risks. Think about it. How many times have we heard that what's natural can't hurt you? This is one of the biggest illusions surrounding health. What is good in small doses can become poison in large amounts or when used incorrectly. Garlic on an empty stomach is a perfect example of this. It is also important to remember that every body reacts differently. Some people tolerate raw garlic easily. Others develop uncomfortable symptoms even in small quantities. Knowing your body's signals is fundamental. If you feel stomach pain, heartburn, abdominal discomfort, or even palpitations after consuming it, this is a clear warning that your body is not handling this habit well. And here is the most worrying detail. It's not just the stomach that suffers from raw garlic on an empty stomach. There is a silent interaction that goes unnoticed but can have serious consequences when combined with daily medications. It is at this point that the next mistake reveals itself to be even more dangerous than simple digestive irritation. Many people see garlic as a natural remedy, but what few know is that it can behave like a real drug inside the body. And like any drug, its substances can interact, either positively or negatively, with medications you are already taking. This detail is especially important for those over 60, as it is common at this stage of life to take daily pills for blood pressure, cholesterol, heart conditions, or circulation. One of garlic's most well-known effects is its ability to thin the blood. This action helps reduce the formation of clots, protecting against thrombosis and even heart attacks. It sounds great, right? But imagine combining this effect with doctor-prescribed anticoagulants like warfarin, aspirin, or even some anti-inflammatory drugs. The result can be an increased risk of internal bleeding, bruising, fragile gums, or even serious hemorrhages. Another rarely discussed point is garlic's impact on blood pressure. Hypertensive individuals can benefit from garlic's natural vasodilating effect, but if they are already using medication to control their pressure, the combination can cause levels to drop to dangerous lows. Dizziness, weakness, falls, and fainting are not uncommon in these cases, and we know how serious a simple fall can be in later life. There are also interactions with medications used to treat cholesterol and liver issues. Some compounds in garlic can speed up the metabolism of these drugs, causing their effects to last for a shorter time. In other cases, they can overload the liver, especially in individuals with a history of liver problems. What makes this all the more delicate is that these reactions do not always appear immediately. Often, the body accumulates small changes until an unexpected symptom arises. A nosebleed for no reason, sudden dizziness, a purple bruise on your arm that appeared out of nowhere. Signs like these could be the body's way of warning that something is wrong with the combination of your medications and garlic.
Therefore, it is essential not to view garlic as just a harmless seasoning. It has real, scientifically proven properties and needs to be used responsibly. The ideal approach is to always inform your doctor or nutritionist if you regularly consume raw garlic or use garlic-based supplements. This simple precaution can prevent unnecessary scares. Now I ask you, have you ever noticed any strange reactions after consuming garlic frequently? Dizziness, burning sensations, bruises, or even changes in your blood pressure? If so, share your experience in the comments. It could help others identify signs they may have never associated with garlic. And make no mistake, silent interactions like these are dangerous precisely because they go unnoticed. But the risk is not just in its relationship with medications. Even the way garlic is stored can determine whether it will be a health shield or a gateway for hidden toxins. Many people believe that garlic is almost eternal. It sits forgotten in the fruit bowl, in a corner of the kitchen, sometimes for weeks, until someone decides to use it. After all, you just peel it and it's ready, right? This confidence is a common and dangerous mistake. Garlic, despite being resilient, also ages, loses its potency, and can even turn into a silent risk when stored improperly. When garlic begins to sprout, sending out those little green shoots from the middle of the clove, it's a sign that its nutrients are being consumed by the germination process itself. The flavor might even become stronger, but a good part of the allicin has already been lost. This means less protective effect for your circulation, heart, and the body's natural defenses. It's like carrying a leaky umbrella in a storm. Another problem arises when garlic shows dark spots, mold, or has a soft texture. This is a clear sign of contamination by fungi or bacteria. Consuming garlic in this condition can overload the liver and immune system, the very systems we want to protect. Seniors are particularly vulnerable to these toxins, which can cause anything from digestive discomfort to more serious cases of food poisoning. Improper storage is also a major villain. Leaving garlic in sealed, damp containers, or in jars with oil at room temperature, creates the perfect environment for the growth of the bacterium. Clostridium botulinum, which is responsible for botulism, one of the most severe, though rare, forms of food poisoning. This is a little-known piece of information that could save lives. Garlic in oil should always be refrigerated and consumed quickly. On the other hand, when stored correctly, garlic can last for weeks without losing its strength. The rule is simple: keep it in a cool, airy place, protected from light, and never inside sealed plastic bags. Wicker baskets, cotton mesh bags, or even cardboard boxes are safe options. And most importantly, always check the clove's appearance before using it. A natural sheen, a firm peel, and the absence of spots are signs of quality. After 60, the body no longer has the same tolerance for dealing with minor contaminations. Something that might have caused only mild discomfort at a younger age could now lead to days of illness, a more serious infection, or even hospitalization. That is why ignoring the quality of your garlic can come at a high cost to your health. And here is an important point to reflect on. What's the use of being careful with preparation methods, respecting quantities, and even watching for drug interactions, if the food that reaches your plate is already compromised? Often, it's not the garlic itself that is harmful, but the way it was stored until the moment of consumption. Now, even when the garlic is fresh and perfect, there is an almost invisible detail that can determine whether you will access its most powerful compounds or just be enjoying its aroma without any effect. This detail lies in the cut and the waiting time, and it is the next mistake that many people make without realizing it. When it comes to garlic, a tiny detail can change everything: the waiting time after cutting it. Few people know that garlic's true medicinal power is not ready the moment you cut or crush the clove. You have to let nature do its work. It works like this: garlic contains a substance called alliin. When the clove is cut or crushed, alliin comes into contact with an enzyme called alliinase. From this union, the much talked about allicin is created, which is responsible for a large part of garlic's beneficial effects, from supporting the immune system to improving circulation and fighting microorganisms. But there is a crucial detail: this chemical process takes time. If you cut the garlic and immediately throw it into the pan or eat it, much of this transformation hasn't occurred. The result? The garlic loses a significant part of its medicinal value and becomes just a seasoning. Science has shown that the ideal time for allicin to form is 10 to 15 minutes after cutting or crushing. This interval allows the reaction to happen fully, ensuring that the substance reaches your body in its active state. It's like giving the garlic a few minutes to breathe and release its protective shield. Ignoring this detail is one of the most common mistakes. Many people believe they are consuming a powerful food, but because they don't wait, they are only getting its flavor and aroma, without the benefits that really matter. This explains why some people don't see results even when they include raw garlic in their routines. And there's more: when you respect this waiting time and only then cook it on low heat or add it to a dish, you can still preserve some of the allicin, along with other sulfuric compounds that have a positive effect on the body. The difference is huge, and it lies in something so simple it could happen in the time it takes to drink a cup of coffee. This detail becomes even more important after the age of 60. The body needs all the help it can get to keep its defenses active. To throw away, without realizing it, the chance to activate protective compounds is to waste a valuable weapon against inflammation, infections, and even premature aging. Now think, how many times have you chopped garlic in a hurry, thrown it directly into a hot pan, and believed you were taking care of yourself? Small habits, repeated over the years, make all the difference in how the body ages. The good news is that this is an easy change to implement. Simply adopt the habit of cutting the garlic at the beginning of your meal preparation and letting it rest while you organize the other ingredients. A simple gesture, but one with a profound impact. However, the confusion surrounding garlic doesn't stop with cutting and waiting. There is another very common misconception, the belief that supplement capsules can replace fresh garlic with the same effectiveness. This is a trap that many people fall into, and it can be costly for their health. The health industry long ago discovered the fascination people have with garlic. So, it's no surprise that pharmacy and supplement store shelves are filled with colorful bottles promising all the benefits of garlic in a convenient capsule. It seems perfect, no smell, no taste, no effort. But does the promise match reality? The truth is that many garlic supplements do not deliver what they claim. The reason lies in the instability of allicin, the main active compound. This substance is not easily encapsulated. In a large portion of the available products, what you find is just dehydrated garlic powder, without the sulfur compounds responsible for the medicinal effects. In other words, you could be paying a high price for something that offers much less than a simple clove of fresh garlic. Furthermore, the absorption in the body is different. Allicin needs to be formed at the moment the garlic is cut or crushed, when the natural enzyme is activated. Inside a capsule, this process does not happen in the same way. It's like trying to keep perfume in a leaky bottle. By the time you open it, almost nothing is left. Another risk lies in the product's origin. Many supplements are imported, with little oversight, and may contain additives, fillers, and even substances unrelated to garlic. For those with more sensitive health after 60, ingesting capsules without a quality guarantee can bring more risks than benefits. This doesn't mean that all garlic supplements are useless. There are standardized products with aged extracts and technology capable of preserving some of the active compounds. But, in general, they are expensive, and the results still don't compare to consuming fresh garlic prepared correctly. The question is, why look for shortcuts when nature already offers the most powerful version for free, right from your kitchen? Often, the answer lies in marketing and convenience. But it's important to remember that true health doesn't align with haste or magic solutions. And here is a point for reflection. Do you know someone who takes garlic capsules believing they are shielded from diseases? This video could be a valuable warning for them. Share it now with friends or family who blindly trust in supplements. This simple act could prevent them from falling into an expensive and ineffective trap. But be careful, the danger doesn't just lie in capsules. Even fresh garlic, if consumed in excess, can turn into a silent poison, especially for seniors. The line between benefit and harm can be easily crossed when the rule of moderation is ignored. Garlic is so celebrated as a medicinal food that many fall into a classic trap, believing that the more, the better. After all, if 1 clove of garlic is good for you, 10 must turn your body into a fortress, right? Wrong. This is one of the most dangerous mistakes anyone can make, and the body quickly shows its disapproval. The first consequence of excessive garlic consumption is a sharp drop in blood pressure. Although its vasodilating effect is positive in small doses, excessive amounts can cause blood pressure to drop to dangerous levels, leading to dizziness, weakness, blurred vision, and even fainting. For seniors, the risk is even greater, as a sudden drop in pressure can result in serious accidents, such as fractures from falls. Another common effect of overconsumption is gastrointestinal irritation. Nausea, gas, heartburn, and abdominal pain are frequent complaints from those who overdo it with raw garlic. In high doses, the sulfur compounds can alter the intestinal flora, causing imbalances that affect digestion and nutrient absorption. There are also reports of arrhythmias and palpitations in sensitive individuals. This is because, when consumed in excess, garlic can interfere with the heart's electrical conduction, which is particularly dangerous for those with a pre-existing heart condition. Overloading the liver is another point of concern. This organ has to metabolize the active substances in garlic, and high doses require extra effort, potentially harming its function over time. It's important to note that excess doesn't mean dozens of cloves at once. For many people, just 3 or 4 raw cloves per day can exceed the safe limit. Most studies indicate that 1 to 2 small cloves per day are sufficient to obtain benefits without risking adverse effects. The problem is that this information is rarely communicated clearly. The marketing of natural products makes many people think there is no limit, when in reality, even water can be toxic in absurd quantities. The key is always balance. Think of a simple example. Garlic can be compared to a potent medicine. No one would take an entire box of pills at once. So why do so many believe that eating handfuls of garlic will only bring benefits? This illusion of safety is what turns an ally into a threat. And here's a curious detail: it's not just the quantity alone that matters, but also what you combine garlic with on your plate. Some foods and preparation methods can nullify or drastically reduce its beneficial effects. Or worse, they can potentiate unwanted side effects. Imagine taking the time to cut the garlic, wait for the allicin to form, consume the right amount, and, in the end, lose most of the benefits because of the wrong food combinations on your plate. This is a mistake many people make without realizing it, mixing garlic with foods that neutralize or drastically reduce its action in the body. One of the biggest saboteurs is an excess of saturated fats. Heavy fried foods, very fatty meats, or processed sauces full of low-quality oil create an inflammatory environment in the body. In this situation, the active compounds in garlic, which should be reducing inflammation and supporting circulation, are stifled, with no room to act fully. It's like trying to put out a fire with a glass of water while someone else is throwing buckets of gasoline on it. Another little-known enemy is an excess of some dairy products, like very fatty cheeses or large quantities of whole milk. While not forbidden, when consumed in excess with garlic, they can reduce the bioavailability of its sulfur compounds. The body gets busy dealing with the slower, heavier digestion, failing to take advantage of some of the nutrients present in the garlic. It's also worth paying attention to highly processed preparations, such as white bread, refined pasta, and ultra-processed foods in general. These foods cause glucose spikes and increase inflammation in the body. The garlic, which could help create balance, ends up being silenced by the metabolic overload. This doesn't mean you need to adopt restrictive diets or give up the pleasure of eating. The key is to make smart choices. Garlic reveals its full potential when combined with natural and light foods, such as fresh vegetables, olive oil, whole grains, and lean proteins. In these combinations, its active compounds find the ideal environment to work, amplifying their benefits. Another important point, the way you prepare it matters as much as the combination. For example, throwing garlic into hot oil until it darkens not only destroys some of the allicin but also creates unhealthy oxidative compounds. Therefore, always prefer to saute it quickly, add it at the end of cooking, or even use it raw in small doses to preserve its effects. In practice, think of a simple salad. A drizzle of olive oil, leafy greens, and a well-prepared clove of garlic can act as a true natural boost for your defenses. On the other hand, mixing garlic into a dish of fried food or pasta loaded with artificial sauces is like throwing pearls away. The flavor is there, but the benefit is lost. And here is a detail that almost no one mentions. Among the most dangerous mistakes involving garlic are certain very popular homemade recipes, passed down from generation to generation, that combine the food with alcohol or oil in a completely inappropriate way. These practices, seen by many as grandmother's remedies, can actually hide serious risks. Among the most widespread uses of garlic are the famous home remedies. Who hasn't heard that soaking garlic cloves in alcohol or immersing them in oil can cure everything from colds to circulatory problems? These practices have been passed down through generations, but they hide risks that are almost never discussed and that can turn a protective food into a real threat. The first mistake is garlic steeped in alcohol. This mixture, often used as a tonic or natural syrup, can severely irritate the stomach and liver, especially in older individuals whose metabolism is no longer as efficient. Alcohol itself already represents a burden on the body, and adding garlic's strong compounds to it is like demanding too much from organs that work tirelessly. Furthermore, there is no solid scientific evidence that this combination offers real benefits, only risks. The second mistake is even more dangerous: garlic immersed in oil at room temperature. This seemingly harmless practice creates the ideal conditions for the growth of the bacterium Clostridium botulinum, the cause of botulism. Although rare, this type of poisoning is extremely serious, potentially affecting the nervous system and putting life at risk. The problem is that the oil, by blocking contact with oxygen, turns the jar into a perfect environment for the bacteria to multiply. And worse, the contaminated food shows no strange smell or appearance, deceiving even the most careful individuals. It is important to emphasize that this is not about demonizing folk knowledge, but about updating it. Our ancestors used what they had available and were often right. But today, we have enough science to identify where tradition and safety go hand in hand and where they may diverge. Garlic in oil can be consumed, as long as it is stored in the refrigerator and used quickly. Otherwise, the risk is not worth it. Another point is that when garlic is used in isolation as a miracle cure, it creates a false sense of protection. Believing that a jar of garlic oil is enough to shield you from diseases may cause many people to neglect truly effective measures: a good diet, regular medical checkups, physical activity, and quality sleep. After 60, every choice becomes even more significant. The body no longer has the same margin of tolerance for accumulated mistakes. Contaminated food, stomach irritation, or a drop in blood pressure can be enough to compromise days or weeks of health. And this brings us to the final point of this journey through these mistakes. If even seemingly harmless traditions hide serious risks, How can we harness the full potential of garlic without fear? The answer lies in simplicity, in knowing the correct way to use it, respecting its limits, and wisely integrating this superfood into your routine. This is exactly what we will reveal in the conclusion: how to turn garlic into a true shield of vitality, without falling into traps. We have reached the most important part of this journey: how to turn garlic into a true health ally, harnessing all its power without falling into traps. After reviewing the most common mistakes, from overcooking to trusting capsules or risky home remedies, it is clear that the difference between poison and medicine lies in the details, in the method of use. The first rule is moderation. 1 or 2 cloves of fresh garlic per day are enough to offer protection for the heart, support for the immune system, and a boost to your natural defenses. More than that does not mean more benefits, it only means more risks. The second rule is to respect the timing. When you cut or crush garlic, wait 10 to 15 minutes before consuming it or cooking it. This short interval ensures that allicin, garlic's most powerful compound, is fully formed and ready to act inside your body. The third is to choose good combinations. Prefer to use garlic with natural foods, fresh salads, steamed vegetables, light soups, olive oil, or whole grains. Avoid mixing it with dishes loaded with fried foods or processed items, which reduce its effectiveness. Garlic is even more efficient when it works in partnership with a balanced diet, rich in colors, fiber, and whole foods. The fourth rule is to store it correctly. Keep garlic in a cool, airy place, protected from moisture and direct light. Avoid sealed plastic containers and never leave cloves submerged in oil outside the refrigerator. Remember, freshness and safety go hand in hand. And finally, the fifth rule is to know your limits. Pay attention to how your body reacts. If you feel heartburn, abdominal pain, dizziness, or unexplained bruises, it could be a sign of excess consumption or an interaction with medication. In that case, adjust the amount and talk to a healthcare professional. What's most inspiring is that by adopting these practices, you discover that you don't need exaggeration or miracle recipes. True strength lies in simplicity. Garlic, when used with respect and intelligence, is a gift from nature, a silent ally against inflammation, infections, and the wear and tear of age. After 60, every conscious choice adds years of vitality. Small daily gestures, like preparing a clove of garlic correctly, can accumulate into significant results: more energy, more protection, and a better quality of life. Now, imagine an entire community of mature individuals, sharing knowledge, learning together, and avoiding mistakes that can be costly. That is exactly what we are building here. If you value this type of content and want to continue receiving practical guidance for aging with health and wisdom, subscribe now to the channel. This simple action helps us bring reliable knowledge to thousands of other people who are also seeking a longer, fuller life. Garlic, when respected, is more than a seasoning. It is a symbol of balance, a living memory of ancestral medicine, and a modern tool for prevention. It is up to you to decide whether it will be just flavor on your plate or a true shield for your health.